I'm Faye Watt, and let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Florida passes bill banning public funding for Pride, expanding statewide crackdown on DEI. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a new bill banning local governments from supporting Pride celebrations and diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. The legislation, known as SB 1134, prohibits counties, municipalities, contractors, and grantees from using public funds to promote DEI or maintain related offices and personnel. The legislation prohibits local governments from establishing or maintaining DEI officers, or programs. It also requires grant recipients to certify that public funds will not be used to advance DEI and provides enforcement mechanisms, including penalties for officials who violate the law. Speaking in Jacksonville, DeSantis described DEI as an ideological construct that promotes a political agenda, adding that certain groups, including white men, have been negatively impacted. Under the new law, violations could be classified as misfeasance or malfeasance in office. The measure is the latest in a series of actions targeting Pride-related initiatives across the state. Okay, so now Pride needs a GoFundMe.
It's true.
But bigotry and pedophilia stay fully funded, okay? Fully funded, all right? Cute. Florida said no DEI, but what I'm seeing is don't empower inclusion. That's what I'm seeing everywhere. And I am deathly afraid. I mean, we said this story when it first came out, when it was a thought, right? And now here we are. I mean, John, I'm going to start with you. Is Pride going to look a lot different next year than what we're going to be seeing this year? How does this look? How does this pan out? How is this enforced?
Well, that's the $64,000 question right there, because this law, like, don't say gay, like, don't do drag in public. It's so vaguely written. Nobody really knows what it means, but we all know what it's supposed to mean.
Yeah.
Right. I think we're going to be okay. First off, I mean, we've got a very well-established Stonewall Pride. Jeff and the organization do a great job, and it's well entrenched. And we have a large community. We have a base. We have great allies. Mm-hmm. And yeah, sponsorship is pulled back, but that's across the board. But they're starting to come back a little bit. And we're going to be okay. I'm concerned about Naples Pride, which just barely got itself off the ground this year. And congratulations on that this past weekend, Miss B and everyone else who was a part of making that happen. But prides like that, prides like, Indianapolis Pride,
smaller pride,
the smaller prides, Des Moines Pride, those are the ones that I'm really worried about, because it's not just Florida that's doing this. All these, backwards ass fascist red states are pulling these same types of things. And I hate to admit this, but I absolutely agree with Governor Ron DeSantis.
In what?
It is a political construct that empowers non-white people, and that's a good thing. America, was built on white supremacy. And we were finally able to push the bigots into the closet, right? Mm-hmm. And we had them there for about 50 years till Trump came out and gave them their voice again. It's pathetic and it's sad, but after DeSantis is gone, someone else comes along. The world will keep spinning, and we will regroup. And I believe things will not be as bad as DeSantis wants them to be. And that right there is a win.
Edward, I mean, you are a DEI initiative, I mean,
it's right there in our name, Gay Men's Chorus, I mean, so, it really is, it's something to really think about, for our organization, I mean, we stand to lose almost maybe $250,000 just from government and local funding that way. So it's really put us, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to raise the money and stuff? And so we're going to have to start reinventing and looking at some of the ways that, we're allocating money. And also, we're going to start ramping up the sponsorship money. As director of sponsorship, I've got a few ideas of my own. And right now, we're pretty solid with the sponsors that we have. They're committed, and I see them committing for next year. So, there isn't that much of a loss I'm seeing right now. But, it's affecting grants.
Yeah.
It's affecting, development as a whole.
Like, you got to prove to them, like, I'll give you a grant, but you have to prove prove that you didn't give it to any brown people.
Right. And sponsors are, some new sponsors are fearful too because of the ramifications they could possibly see. The venue relations, all of a sudden, you're not going to want to be, they may not feel that they would want you in their venue because you're a DEI initiative. And that, attributes to attendance drops and ticket sales go down. So it's a very scary thing. And so we have to really be diligent about this and really, think about what we're going to do for our next season. This Pride concert is the end of our 16th season, and then we go into our 17th season. So we're already strategizing and coming up with what if we don't get that money this time.
Yeah. And I think other folks need to follow suit. I'm also worried about our civil servants, the folks, that we put into office, right? And we put into office because they support us, right? And many are us, right?
Yeah. Especially in Wilton Manors, we're Stonewalls.
And all these folks, a Chris Caputo that will go out of his way to make sure that an event has what they need, and will even tell the commission, hey, this event needs a check. Let's figure out how we can support them. None of those things will be possible anymore.
Well, now the law has been carved out, so now our activists are going in there and seeing exactly where it is that we can get around some of this stuff too. So hopefully, we're a very creative and a very inventive group. So, we'll definitely put our own new spin on it.
And you know who the real winners in all this are? The lawyers. Because this is going to be tied up in myriad lawsuits for many, many years.
Yeah. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.